Good morning, or depending on when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and as always told out of Voice of Radio. So today, I think it's time we talked about investing in the Pokemon trading card game. I'm getting an awful lot of questions from people on a daily basis at the moment, asking about old cards and values, and long story short, some big YouTubers have gone and opened some Pokemon cards and things have gotten a bit nutty. It's gotten a lot more people interested in this part of the hobby, and given the ridiculous amount of questions I've had from people over the past week or so, I think it's time we addressed it. This video is intended as a kind of an intro to investing, some key points, some key questions. What I want you lovely ladies and gentlemen to do is post your questions down below, and in a few days to a week we'll have a follow-up video, if you want me to of course, where I answer your specific questions about investing, collecting and things of that nature. So, what do you need to know? Well, the first thing we probably need to talk about is first edition, Shadowless and Unlimited. Now, this graphic of Charizard that I took from the lovely folks over at Bulbapedia, great website you should be checking out, shows the differences quite nicely on a Charizard. You will notice that on the left-hand side, you have got a Charizard with a first edition symbol. This means it's first edition, i.e. from the first print run. That makes it more valuable. First editions were used for the first few sets that were produced by Wizards of the Coast. Wizards of the Coast produced the game for a while, we'll get there in a minute. They are not used on every set, and we don't find them nowadays. Japan used them for a lot longer than we did. We're only talking about English language cards here. So, first edition cards generally are worth a fair bit more. But first edition cards were only actually printed in English up to and including the set Neo Destiny. After Neo Destiny, first edition cards don't exist. It's also worth pointing out that base set 2, which was largely it was a reprint set from some of the earlier sets, and yes, it did include a Charizard, there's no such thing as first edition base set 2. So even though base set 2 had the Charizard, the card that everyone's going nutty about at the moment, there is no first edition base set 2 Charizard. So Shadowless then, that's what we see in the Charizard in the middle, and you'll notice that the box with the picture in has no shadow around it. On the right there, we've got a nice little shadow, better seen on the bottom and the right hand side, where it basically looks like it's coming out of the card a little bit, whereas in the middle you've got a Shadowless card where the box is very much flush to the back, if that makes any sense. Shadowless cards are rarer, and they are therefore worth quite a bit more. There we go. Shadowless cards only existed in the base set, the first expansion of the Pokemon trading card game. They were never printed after that. Now, generally speaking, the more expensive cards, more worthwhile cards, are the Wizards of the Coast expansions. Now, Wizards of the Coast are that company that make Magic the Gathering, for instance, and for the first few years of the Pokemon trading card game's life, they made it as well. They made this. This was a game that they made. They started with the base set, and they went up to and including Skyridge, which was May 2003. Still, one of my favourite facts about the Pokemon trading card game is that the first Nintendo set, the first Pokemon printed set, actually came out 1 month and 6 days, that was EX Ruby and Sapphire, after the release of Skyridge. In a kind of, shh, don't worry about the Wizard sets. Look, shiny new Nintendo set. And generally speaking, the Wizards of the Coast sets are more valuable. They are more sought after. They are older, and in a lot of cases, they are a fair bit rarer as well. But you will often see people talking about Wizards of the Coast, or WOTC Hollows. They're talking about the sets from the base set, all the way up through and including Skyridge. Now, the other thing you'll see talked about quite a lot is about grading. Grading is where you send your card off to a company, and they appraise its condition on a scale of 1 to 10, and they put it in a nice hard plastic case with the condition printed on it, and this makes the cards a lot more valuable. The theory essentially is, first of all, you know what condition it's in, there's no guesswork, you know how clean and good it is, and secondly, because it's encased in a big plastic case, the condition is never going to get any worse, you're essentially guaranteeing the condition. And generally speaking, there are two companies that are widely used for Pokemon grading, and those are PSA and Beckett. Generally speaking, PSA tends to be a little bit more popular and tends to be used a bit more often. Beckett has a reputation of being a little bit harsher. So a Beckett 10, for instance, will generally command a higher price than a PSA 10 because it's harder to achieve a 10 from Beckett. Although Beckett does actually get a little bit more awkward again, because Beckett actually has two 10s. You've got the Gold Label 10, which is an overall 10, but you've also got the Black Label 10. Now, the Black Label 10 is extremely difficult to get from Beckett. That is where your centering, corners, edges, and surface all come out 10 out of 10, and this is the highest grade you can get on a card. This is basically saying, hey, this card is redonkulous condition, but you will really be paying for this. We talked about the Shiny Charizard GX commanding $10,000 a little while ago. That was because it was the first Beckett 10, and Beckett 10s are very hard to come by. Now, if you're looking at sets in which to invest, the king of it is the base set. The Pokemon trading card game base set is still the best set around in terms of holding its value. It is the nostalgic set. And the weird thing is, this set sold tremendously back in the day, but it was also over 20 years ago, and an awful lot of those cards have basically been wrecked, or at least not kept in pristine condition. So even though the initial print run sold phenomenally, we're looking for very good condition cards that hold the value, and they are becoming rarer and rarer. Do remember that every year more people will acquire these cards just to collect and have no intention of ever selling, so the population of cards actually being sold for out-of-print sets will keep going down. Now, the other sets, your Jungle, your Fossil, your Neo Genesis, these are also worth a fair amount. These are good sets to invest in. They're not worth as much as base, but they're pretty good. The sneaky good ones are the e-reader sets, by which we're talking Expedition, Aquapolis, and Skyridge. And the reason these are sought after is very simply because they didn't sell that well. This was in a little bit of a lull period for the Pokémon TCG, comparatively speaking, and these sets didn't sell great. When the Pokémon Company took over the game with EX Ruby and Sapphire, sales started growing to the monumental place they are today, but those e-reader sets were, compared to the other sets, very low selling. And really, the holy grail amongst them is Skyridge. Like I said, Pokemon dropped their own set 5 weeks after the release of Wizards of the Coast Skyridge set, and very much stepped on the toes of it, and that depressed both the demand for and the sales figures of Skyridge to the point where that has become a very, very popular and very, very, well, expensive set moving forward. The other set that people go absolutely cuckoo bananas for, really the best one when you're not talking about Wizards of the Coast, is probably EX Fire Red and Leaf Green. Now, to be fair, any of the earlier EX sets tend to be a bit more valuable. As the EX sets went along, the Pokemon trading card game grew in stature again and sales started going up. So essentially, the older the EX sets, the better they tend to be. But Fire Red and Leaf Green's got stuff like the Charizard in, so that tends to be a set that people like a little bit more. Where it starts to go downhill is really with the advent of the Diamond and Pearl sets. I've been going through my complete history of the Pokemon trading card game on this channel, and generally speaking, in most of those sets, you'll struggle to find a card that's worth $100 nowadays. When I'm talking about $100, I mean ungraded. Obviously, when you grade them and all that, the prices do go up. There are several Diamond and Pearl sets where you struggle to find a card that's worth $40. They are nowhere near as popular. Although, again, buying sealed booster boxes is still going to be a very good way to keep value for the sets. These booster boxes aren't being printed anymore, so if you can keep these booster boxes sealed, they will go up in value. Cracking these booster boxes rarely works out in terms of pure financial gain. Again, we're talking about investing in the hobby here. From Diamond and Pearl on, we really are seeing quite a significant drop in terms of the demand for and the value of the sets, because this was where the game really started selling well again, and the hobby was taking off, and they're just not old enough. Now, maybe in the future this might change, but right now when you get to Diamond and Pearl, it's not so good. Now, one thing I do need to caution you lovely ladies and gentlemen about, packs can be weighed. Now, nowadays, when you buy Pokemon trading cards, a pack will either have a white code or a green code. And a green code is put in a pack that doesn't have a holo, and a white code is put in a pack that does. Because the white codes are slightly lighter than the green codes, and the holos are slightly heavier than non-holos, and it stops you being able to weigh packs to know if there's a holo in there. That was not the case back in the day. Now, a lot of the times you will see people selling packs as heavy or light. Heavy means there is going to be a holo, light means there isn't. Be extremely careful about buying unweighed packs. Because, and it depends how much you trust the person selling it, but I saw a listing this week where they were selling 5 booster packs. 3 of them were heavy, 2 of them were unweighed. Now, far be it for me to be cynical, but how come they know that the heavy ones are heavy and they don't know what the other ones are? I would be very, very reticent to buy an unweighed pack, and certainly I would not pay nearly the price for an unweighed pack as I would for a heavy. Although I leave that up to you, lovely ladies and gentlemen. Like I've said, sealed booster boxes is still the way to go. And if you buy an older booster box, you'll pay several £1,000s. But if you buy an older booster box, don't open it. You're not going to get the same level of value. Now, in terms of specific cards to look out for, the only thing I can tell you for certain is Charizard. For some reason, and it all really goes back to the base set. To be fair, I did a video about this. I'll link it in the description. But Charizard is a fantastically popular Pokemon. People love Charizard, and rare Charizard cards are always going to be very popular. If you look at recent sets and the cards that are really taking off, you've got the Shiny Charizard GX that came around in Hidden Fates. Because Shiny GXs were very rare, and there were 35 of them, so even when you pulled a Shiny GX, there was still only a 1 in 35 chance it was a Charizard, so you've got a fantastically rare card. It's a Charizard, yes. Interesting to note that all the others were 1 in 35, even when you pulled one, and you can pick up some of them for like 20 quid. So yeah. Shiny Charizard V and Rainbow Rare Charizard V Max, both of which came around in Champion's Path. They are the other cards. These are about like £400-500 cards at the moment. Because again, very low pull rates and Charizard. But that's what you're looking for. In terms of modern sets, if you want money cards, you are looking at very, very low pull rates for very popular Pokemon cards. Low pull rate alone isn't going to guarantee they're going to be valuable. Maybe in the future, but not now. In terms of other Pokemon to look at, maybe Pikachu, Blastoise, Mewtwo. These are Pokemon that are quite popular and their cards do tend to get very popular. But it's awkward because it's not an exact science. Charizard, yes. And certainly the really rare Pikachu like Pikachu Star, yes. Random common Pikachu, no. Also, I should mention, from some of the older sets, both Crystal and Shining Pokemon are pretty much guaranteed to hold lots of value because the pull rates on them were absurdly low. And now they're very old, beautiful cards, so they're always going to be very... Again, buying into them is going to be very difficult and expensive, but they are cards which, if you can pick up good conditioned ones and get them graded, you are going to be onto a winner. The chances are that just isn't going to be a bad investment in the future. Getting into the game nowadays... Honestly, recent sets, you are looking at the hyper rare Charizards, and that is probably about it in terms of valuable cards. There are some other ones floating around. In Dragon Majesty, there was a gold Ultra Necrozma, the pull rates for which were obscenely low. Even having said that, you can easily pick this up for under $100. $80, $85 should be fairly straightforward. It's not a phenomenally expensive card. Really, if you want to be seriously investing in Pokemon, you're looking at old cards, Wizards of the Coast ideally, popular Pokemon, and getting them graded and rolling from there. If you can afford old school booster boxes, yes. And I know it's quite trendy nowadays to buy booster boxes and then sit on them for several years. And certainly booster boxes of the Evolution set, which was largely kind of a a spiritual reprint set of the base set, shall we say. Not exactly the same, but lots of the same card art, and they change. I mean, look at the two Charizards side by side. You can see that they've changed, but they are very much same kind of artwork, and they're intended to be spiritual successors. People have been sitting on that since 2016, and they are now worth a lot more than you paid for them, but other sets from 2016 aren't doing the same thing, or at least not to the same degree. So there we go. There's your intro. There are some of the terms like graded, Wizards of the Coast, Shadowless First Edition, etc. that you should know what they mean, and they're thrown around, so hopefully now that's made that a bit clearer, and an introduction to the kind of things that are going to hold value. Pokemon is not an easy game to actually invest in unless you've got a lot of capital and are looking to invest in older sets, in which case, yeah, it becomes an awful lot easier. But as I said at the beginning, ladies and gentlemen, pop your questions down below. We'll do a follow-up video in a week or so, a few days, we'll see, where I answer all of your collecting and investing questions. Because if I don't know the answer, I know someone who does. I've got a few contacts who are pretty good with this kind of stuff. So drop your comments down below, and if I've got enough questions, we'll do a follow-up video soon. For now, I want to know your tips, I want to know your questions, and I want to know what kind of Pokemon investments you've been making. So go nuts in the comment section, but be nice. And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at TheWasi, and Twitch for some live action at twitch.tv/PTCGRadio. If you want to support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and all that good stuff, head on over to patreon.com/PTCGRadio, where you can do exactly that. But by far the most important thing, as always, look after yourselves till next time, would ya? Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.